Platform-Publisher-Distributor. Supposed to be three separate entities, right? But if you know anything about Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, etc., then you know that they're all the exact same thing. They are engaging in blatant monopolistic business practices that are against antitrust legislation that are on the books right now, but they get to hide behind protections of just being a platform because they're on the internet. They're using software that's not a physical medium. But to illustrate the point, let me just give you an example. Imagine I invent the email and I send a recipe from me to my friend. Well, that's not publicly available content. I didn't publish anything, so I'm technically just a platform at this moment. But now imagine I invent the public email, and so when I send that recipe to my friend, it's now copied onto a public ledger and anybody can access it. So my other friends that are interested in this recipe don't have to go to me. I don't have to send them the recipe directly. They can just go on this website and they can look at the message I sent to my other friend and they can just copy that recipe. And that way I published the recipe and I've now crossed the line from platform to publisher, or platform publisher in this instance. Now, imagine I have a bunch of people sending recipes to their friends, right? And now, say my cousin wants to be sent recipes about chicken, right? I can distribute that content to him, which is a collection of a bunch of other messages sent from persons to persons on this public ledger. And so I've now not just become a publisher of these recipes, but I'm now distributing these recipes to people and tailoring the distribution. And now, let's say, put ads on my website and I'm monetizing it. And so now I want as many people to be engaged with these recipes. I'm sending them exactly what they want and they're watching the ads. I'm making money. And that's essentially how these businesses work. They didn't just invent the book, they invented the book and the book publishing process, and they also invented the bookstore. So they're all three of the things at once. And that's monopolistic, right? There's no third-party developer that's being able to build their own code and distribute the recipes on their own virtues or whatever. That's completely closed off to them. And so how do you solve this problem, right? You wouldn't break up a company. If I own three of these types of companies, it wouldn't be like, hey, for example, people think that breaking up Instagram and Facebook is going to solve this platform publisher distributor problem. It's not, okay? It has absolutely nothing to do with it. What you have to do actually is force these companies to open source their code. Now, maybe not all of their code, but enough of their code and also their APIs, open those up so that third-party developers can basically decouple the publishing and distribution end of their business. All these companies do not want to be in the publishing game, okay? That's been clear from every major CEO, from, like I said, Twitter, Facebook, etc. They don't want to be the arbitrators of what's true, what's not. They don't want to be labeling stuff. Typically, back in the day, that's what the FCC did. And so that's what I basically advocate for. Open up the code and allow government organizations from Europe, Asia, Africa, etc. to develop their own content labeling. So we saw this from the 2020 elections. We saw this during the pandemic. We'd see things like, this is medical misinformation, or this is inaccurate about election results, whatever. These companies have no business in labeling this content. It's the responsibility, primarily, I would say, of governments, but I advocate not just to allow governments. I think that third parties, including nonprofits and for-profits, should be involved in labeling content. There should be a true marketplace opened up. And I think by default, you should have, say, the FCC content labeling. But if you want to toggle that off, you can toggle it off and put in some other one. An example I chose for content labeling is to say something like a religious organization where they want to say this is, you know, Christian content, or this is Islamic content, or Islamic approved content, or whatever, and they could label the content as such. And if you want to elect to have those third-party labeling algorithms, then you can do that, and they would be competing directly with, say, government organizations like the FCC. And you could even potentially, like I said, there could be a for-profit market where you might want to pay an extra $5 a month so that you get the best labeled content there is. Essentially, we're consuming all this information and none of it's being labeled. It'd be like consuming a bunch of food and having no nutritional labels. We don't know the calories, we don't know the fat, the protein, etc. Of our information that we're consuming. So that's how you decouple the publishing end, and I don't think that these companies will have any problem with that. They might have a problem with the open sourcing part, but they're going to have to get used to it because, once again, their entire business is monopolistic by its very nature, and the only way that you get rid of the monopoly is you open source the code. And so finally, the distribution end, there's the platform, which they get to keep, right? They invented it, they can copyright it, they can sue people if they try to change or modify it, right? There's the publishing, which they're no longer going to be the publishers. And then there's the distribution, which I don't think they should be the distributors either. There could be an argument in place where they should be able to compete in the distribution, but I believe that they should be completely devoid of the distribution business. They can be an ad. They can serve ads on their platform, but they shouldn't be the ones that are also distributing the content, in my opinion. So regardless of whether or not you allow them to continue with their distribution practices on an open marketplace, you open up the marketplace. And what does that mean? That means open sourcing the code so that third-party developers, whether it be nonprofits or for-profits, can develop algorithms that serve the content to its users. And the users, again, will be able to select which algorithms they want. And this could be a good thing and a bad thing. So if you want more violent content served to you, you can get more violent content, more politically divisive, so be it. But you'd be the one selecting that algorithm. That wouldn't be an algorithm that you were given, right? And you might even have to pay for that algorithm potentially. And that's more on the negative side. On the positive side, it could be more meaningful, educational, healthy content being sent your way. So you would be able to select that. There'd be market pressures in place to develop really good algorithms for, let's say, like I would mention, education or health-based algorithms. That's a real thing. You could be sent good tweets or good videos on YouTube, and that would be a direct result of the algorithm that you select. And I guess on the final end of the distribution is the actual graphic user interface. So aside from the distribution algorithm, there's the actual software that you're interfacing with, and that's the phone app, that's the web browser app, the website you put in. That needs to be decoupled from the platform as well. And so a great example of the monopolistic practices that are being involved today is the YouTube app, where they took away the user's ability to manually select the video quality of the video that they were watching, essentially to prevent, to allow YouTube to get away with serving you lower quality video, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's not like you can switch to a different YouTube app that will outline exactly the video quality and be more intuitive to the user, right? If you opened up the platform and allowed for third-party developers to develop their own graphic user interface, well, then the most cleanest user-friendly, intuitive graphic user interface would prevail, right? Because there'd be a marketplace and an incentive structure to provide that service to people. So that's how you decouple the publishing and the distribution from these platform publisher distributors. That's how you solve the problem of these social media companies. If you like the video, like the video. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe. I have a lot more videos on the way. And aside from that, thanks for watching. Have a nice rest of your day.